In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to get your Leagues of Votann painted and ready for the tabletop. And so you can follow along, this is an easy to follow step-by-step guide explaining all the steps and techniques, so you'll have the confidence and knowledge to get your own Leagues of Votann painted. I'll be showing you how we can tackle painting their unique colours of armour, their fatigues, and as well, if you stick around until the end, we'll paint some flesh and see how we can weather our miniatures. Welcome to TableTopReady, my name's Michael, and in this video I want to show you that painting Leagues of Votann doesn't have to be that difficult, and anyone is capable of it no matter your skill level. All of the paints and brushes I use throughout this tutorial will be shown on the screen as I use them, and they'll also be listed in the description along with any hobby equipment I think you'll find useful, with affiliate links to where you can buy them. As well, if you enjoy my content here on TabletopReady, then let me know by clicking that like button, and why not leave me a comment. I love reading them and hearing about your own hobby. And before we get started, we'll have to get our miniatures ready for painting, which I've made a dedicated video about on the channel. For this video, I'll be painting our Thunderkin using sub-assemblies to make things easier than if we had fully assembled it. I'll also be undercoating my Thunderkin using Mechanica Standard Grey, but know that you can undercoat your miniatures however you want, the steps are still the same. The best place to start when painting our miniatures is to get all of our base colours painted first. This lets us spend time choosing those colours we want to paint everything, and painting becomes less overwhelming. Let's start by painting the fatigues using Sons of Horus green, and so we achieve best results when painting, we always want to make sure to thin our paints first, and I find an equal amount of water does the trick. As well, I like to remove excess paint from the brush on some paper towel first, which gives us control over how much paint is deposited. And when we're ready to start painting, we want to keep our brush moving and avoid going over any areas we've already painted to prevent creating any unwanted texture whilst the paint is still drying. It's really important that we learn the very basics of applying paint to our miniatures. Not only does it give us a great foundation for any techniques that we use later, but it also means that we end up with better looking miniatures. So once you're done with your first layer, because we thinned our paint, it won't have covered very well. But that's okay, as we can just follow the same steps as before and paint another layer. Painting in multiple thin layers like this means we can get strong base colour without losing any details. We just need to make sure each layer is fully dried first before applying another one. When you're done painting those fatigues, let's continue painting our other base colours, first using a Baden black for any black details like rubber patches and weapon casings. And although we want to try and be as neat as possible whilst painting, if you're like me then you're going to be messy and make mistakes. That's okay though, because we can always go back and neaten things up as we go along, or just wait until we've done all of our other base colours before cleaning up any mistakes. The next thing I want to get painted is the armour of the exo frame, mixing an equal amount of Eshin Grey and Vulcan Green together to give us our base colour. After you're done, let's get the armour across the chest painted using an equal mix of Corax White and Deepkin Flesh. Honestly, working on getting all of our base colours painted first is a great place to start, especially for any new painters and beginners. Not only will this let us practice those basics, but it also gives us experience with our brush. The last couple of base colours we want to get painted for now are all the belts and leather details using Mournfang Brown. And lastly, any silver details using Lead Belcher. We've now gotten all of our base colours painted, making sure we've also tidied up any messy areas and mistakes, which is going to really help make our miniatures look even better. I now want to show you how to bring out the details, which involves creating definition and learning how to highlight. Let's work on the exo armour first with a recess shade using Incubi Darkness, helping to bring out the details, making them easier to see. Recess shade involves painting directly into recesses and areas to create our definition, rather than using an overall wash which can be messy and darken the colours we apply them over. If you're a bit messy, we can neaten things back up once you're done with our base colour mix. Another way to bring out details is with a shade, and for a lot of our details we can actually just apply Nuln Oil to a lot of the same areas at the same time, like the fatigues, metals and leather details. And when applying a shade, we want to apply enough to cover areas comfortably, avoiding any pooling in areas you don't want it to. And if you do see this happening, then we can just use our brush to remove any excess we don't want. When that's dry, let's create a wash for our armour over the chest, mix in an equal amount of lime medium with Colia green shade. This is going to weaken the strength of the shade so it doesn't overpower what we use it over, but still create our definition. It's now time to learn about highlighting to bring out the details and edges even more. The idea behind highlighting is to bring out any edges, areas and raised details to draw our attention to them. The most prominent way of highlighting, and the one we most associate with it, is the line highlight, and it's this highlight that we're going to be focusing on. Let's first work on highlighting our exo armour using an equal mix of Vulcan green and Administratum grey. Again, we want to thin our paint and remove any excess on some paper towel first, which is going to prevent those thick blobby lines. And when you're ready, take your time painting thin lines on any edges and around details to bring our attention to them. To make this easier, we can angle our brush against an edge and run it along the edge to create the highlight. For the areas we can't do this, then we just need to take our time painting thin lines where we want our highlights to be. If you want to know more about highlighting, then I do have a dedicated video on the channel which goes into more detail about what I find helps me and what I did to improve. Highlighting can be tricky, and I know that not everyone likes doing them, but it does get easier with practice, and you'll also notice that your hand-eye coordination and brush control will improve as a result, making us better painters overall. The next areas we can work on highlighting are our weapon casings, starting with Corvus Black for a chunky highlight. This wants to be a thicker line so we can still see it once we've done any thinner highlights after this. After our chunky highlight, let's do our edge highlights using Dawn Stone, and this is done in the same way we highlighted our exo armour. Let's finish our weapon casings with a spot highlight, painting dots with Administratum grey on all the corners where light would be more focused. Now we've learnt how to use our shades and highlights to create plenty of definition, making things easier to see, we can now move on and get everything else painted. Now we've learnt how to create definition and highlight, we should be able to get everything else painted no problem. Let's first get the armour over the chest finished, tidying things up with some deepkin flesh, and painting this on raised areas and flatter areas of armour, but making sure not to cover any definition created with our wash from earlier. When you're done with that step, we can first do an edge highlight using Corax White, and then White Scarf for our spot highlight. For those knee pads and boots, let's first do a chunky highlight using Inky by Darkness. We can then finish these details with Fenrisian Grey for an edge highlight. I know what I'm showing you is a lot, but it's really up to you how many of these steps and techniques that you use, but what is important is that you're enjoying painting and that it doesn't feel like a chore. Let's get any leather belts and pouches painted using Scrag Brown for our chunky highlight, and then Towelite Ochre for an edge highlight. Now we can work on finishing those fatigues, highlighting them with Cyberite Green. Now with all those done, we can paint the wires before we move on to the final details. First paint any wires with Corn Red. Then paint a thick line of Evil Sun Scarlet along the length. We can then paint a thinner line of Fire Dragon Bright to finish. It's now time to get the last details finished on our Thunderkin, and we can even see how we can weather our miniatures as well. Let's first spend some time painting the head, and for this we want to start with an equal mix of Bugman's Glow and Kislev Flesh. To start bringing out the features and details of the face, we can use Bugman's Glow and paint this into the recesses. If you're a little messy doing this, we can use our base colour mix to tidy up. After you're done, we can use Kislev Flesh to bring out the raised areas of the face. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can paint the eyes with Corax White, then use Abaddon Black for the pupil. Even though I'm giving you all this information, you're still going to need to put it into practice, and to get your head around it so that you can fully understand how everything's working. And you're not going to get it straight away, but that's okay. Let's now see how we can weather our armour, and for this we can start with some Storm Vermin Fur to paint scuffs and scratches on the armour across the chest. After that we can use Rhinox Hide to paint chips and scratches on the exo armour. As well, make sure to paint any nuts and bolts and rivets using Stormhost Silver. The last thing to do is to paint lights and lenses. and for any yellow spotlights we can just apply some Iyanden yellow contrast. For any lenses, let's first paint them corn red to start with. We can then paint a line around the edge using Fire Dragon Bright, finishing any lenses with a dot of white scar towards the top of them. I've wanted to paint the Leagues of Votann for a while now because of the unique colours they have on the box, and I also wanted to challenge myself so that I could show you how to achieve the same look but in a more straightforward way, so that you can have the confidence to paint your own. So let's see how they turned out. The last thing I want to do is to say a massive thank you to all the amazing people who've made this tutorial possible with their continued support. It really means a lot. It allows me to get all the paints, brushes and miniatures I need to make these tutorials, so I can continue to help you get better at painting. And I especially want to thank Daniel, Frankie to Lunch, Anderson Wu, Matteo Valdez and Mr. Bay, who have recently become supporters to the channel. Thank you so much. And if you feel like you get any value and enjoy the content here on TableTopReady and want to help support the channel as well, you can become a channel member or join my Patreon, which gives you access to our Discord, regular updates, and you'll get to watch videos and tutorials early. We've now finished painting our Thunderkin, and I hope I've been able to give you the confidence and knowledge to get your own painted. I've got plenty of other tutorials on the channel showing you how to improve your painting and how to paint some of your other favourite units and factions. I really do enjoy making these tutorials and I hope you find them useful. If you do, please leave a like and let me know in the comments below. As well, make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on future content, and I'll see you in the next video.